Hi, it's Babette. Welcome to the Foreignpreneur, the place to be if you're building and growing your business as a foreigner in your new chosen country. In this video, we are going to get to know Perth's leading lady in cybersecurity, and we're going to hear all about her journey and her adventure coming from Europe to Australia. Caitriona, thank you so much for accepting my invitation.
Thanks for having me, Babette. I'm very excited to share some of my knowledge and wisdom with you.
How beautiful is that accent? Where are you from?
I'm originally from Ireland, the north of Ireland.
Ah, beautiful. North of Ireland or Northern Ireland?
Well, it's both.
It's both.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about what brings you to beautiful Perth, Australia?
Well, it's a bit of a story. I came to Australia 9 years ago to be godmother to my nine-year-old nephew, and I fell in love with Perth. I fell in love with the city, I fell in love with the people, and seeing the opportunity to maybe create a life for myself here. So I immigrated, and here I am 9 years later, still in Australia.
Absolutely. Oh, beautiful. Well, it sounds so easy, but as we know, it's not easy to get a visa.
No.
Here in Australia. So what is your story about getting a visa?
Well, I was pretty lucky, to be honest, because I was in IT, and at that stage IT was the top of the skills list. So when I decided to settle here, I looked for a job in IT, and I was very fortunate to find a job as a service delivery manager for a managed services company here in the city. On a working holiday visa, you're allowed to work for 6 months, and coming close to the end of the 6 months, I had said to the owner of the company, you know, I can't stay here much longer, I'm going to have to move. And he was like, no, you need to stay. So what do we need to do to get you to stay? So there was two options at that time for me. It was to go on to sponsorship or to get a permanent resident visa. And we'd looked at the options and both decided that the permanent resident was probably the best option. So we went down that route, and I was very, very lucky because it didn't take that long for me to get my permanent residency here in Australia. So I was very grateful that that happened for me very quickly. I know a lot of others that don't have it quite as easy as what I had and struggle to. Yeah, I feel guilty because I got it so easy. But I suppose it was just the opportunity that I have with being in IT, and at that time it was a skill that Australia needed. So yeah, that was my journey here and how I got here and how I got my visa.
Oh, beautiful. And how was coming from Ireland? Obviously, it's a beautiful green country. How did it feel to come here to, no hills really? Especially in Western Australia, we don't really have mountains and it's not that green. How did that feel?
At the start, it was a little bit strange, to be honest. I think it was more the temperature at the start. Oh. I came at the end of October, start of November. Oh. And the first 2 weeks that I came, it was very misleading, very grey, rainy. I was like, okay, this is not too bad. Where is this Australian heat that everybody talks about? And after I decided to stay, of course, a heat wave hit, and it was 40 degrees for 2 days, and I was that was more a shock than anything. But I think for Australia is very different to anywhere in Europe. To be fair, you've got miles and miles of nothing when you go out into the country. If you head down towards like Esperance, you're driving for hours and all you have is wheat fields at either side of you, and you start to appreciate how big this country is. So it's very different to the likes of Ireland. You drive 15 minutes and you're in the next village. So it has its pros and cons. It has the most amazing beaches. It's got the most amazing wineries, which I do like. So if you go to like the Swan Valley or Margaret River, it does start to feel a little bit like home come winter time. It gets a bit greener, and that's, I suppose, what makes you feel a little bit more at home. And then when you head further south, the likes of Esperance, it's completely different again. I was completely amazed at how blue the water is, how white the sand is. Honestly, it felt like we just walked out of a magazine onto the beach. The sand in Esperance, there's one particular beach that we spent Christmas Day on, Lucky Bay. The sand is just so soft and white and fluffy, and it's more like dust than sand, and it was just amazing. Really was picturesque. It was just, photos just don't do it justice, and that's honestly, it's really a stunning part of the world. So, for Western Australia, it's such a huge, diverse place. There's so many different areas that you can go to. They're so different. You go inland and it's different again. You go to the coast and there's different parts of the coast that's different. Even Rottnest, just off the coast of Perth here, the small island, it's stunning as well. So we're very, very privileged to live in this beautiful part of the world. I've yet to been able to venture up north, so that's next on the bucket list, go up towards Broome.
Whoa, well, yeah, good luck with that. maybe go in the winter time.
Yes.
Like our winter.
Yes.
Wow, and so coming from the north of Europe, obviously you have fair skin.
Yes.
How did you feel about the sun here? Did you feel any difference, like, on your skin?
Like, not really, I suppose, if I'm honest, because most of my work is done indoors, so I'm only really outdoors at the weekend and the evenings, and I do tend to try and stay out of the sun. I'm very aware of the risks of being in the sun here in Australia. And in fairness, Australia have done very well to advertise, and you have the slip, slop, splash, is that what it is? Slip, slop, splash campaign for sun cream, and they make it you aware that you shouldn't really expose yourself to the sun for too long a period. So it's, it's only really in summer when it gets really, really hot. But in fairness, I don't have a job that's outside, so I feel very lucky because I'm in an air-conditioned office most of the time. My husband, on the other hand, he works outside in the elements all day, and I don't know if I could cope with that. So I can't really say that I've experienced that prolonged, heat. So yeah, for me, it's not been an issue.
Well, that's lucky. That's lucky. So how did your lifestyle change compared to what you were used to doing and how you lived in Ireland?
Probably the biggest change was, you're able to spend more time outdoors. It wasn't constantly raining. Ireland is a very wet country and unfortunately it rains quite a lot. So it prevents you from being able to, go outside and have barbecues, and we're very lucky we have a swimming pool. So, that's a huge change from living and growing up in Ireland. For me, the biggest change was probably my career. It really has propelled from coming to Australia. And that then obviously has a knock-on effect to your personal life. If your career's excelling, your personal life's excelling. So, it's just, I love it here. It's just a completely different way of life. Do miss home. Your heart is always going to be at home. But I think Perth has definitely stolen a little bit of my heart as well.
Oh, nice. So you work in a very interesting field, cybersecurity.
Yeah.
It's very topical. How did you get involved in cybersecurity?
Well, I was in IT for 20 years, about 20 years just before that. So I'd done an honours degree at university in Ireland, Georgetown, the University of Ulster, and started my career as an engineer, a systems engineer, fixing computers and setting up networks for businesses, and mostly in the small to medium sized space. And then when I came to Australia, I continued on in leadership roles like service delivery manager, operations manager, and leading teams in the IT field. And I've loved that. I have absolutely loved it. It was a great career. But I started to see that cybersecurity was a growing issue, especially for small to medium sized businesses. And a lot of my clients and customers would be, suffering a cyber attack or a data breach. So I decided that, I really wanted to pursue a career in that area, and to do it, I decided to go back to uni and do a master's in cybersecurity. I realized pretty early on when I'd done the move over to cybersecurity, it was the human element that I was more interested in than the technology side of it. And that was strange for me because I've always grown up with technology, being very, very hands-on technical. But I realized that it was, humans that was, the hackers were now targeting. And they were playing on, manipulation skills and making people do things that they wouldn't normally do. And that's where the biggest risk is. So 95% of all cyber breaches or data breaches are due to human error. So somebody clicking on something that they shouldn't, or, giving an unauthorized person access to something that they shouldn't. So that's sort of how I've got into it. And that's what I'm doing with myself these days.
I can imagine that's a highly sought after knowledge and experience that you have.
Unfortunately, it's a growing issue across the world, but in Australia, the statistics released for 2020, and I think in Western Australia alone, it's tripled the cost of cybercrime to the economy and to individuals and businesses. And that was one of the reasons why I got into it. And I, identified that, somebody within a business maybe that clicked on an email that brought a business down or give access to bank accounts, that person's left feeling, not so nice, that they have caused that. And I've seen some people, cause really high levels of stress after they've, maybe clicked on an email that's caused ransomware, brought a system down for maybe a week, but that person has been trained how to identify this or how to stop it. So that's why I'm really passionate about training people how to identify what those risks are. What is it the hackers are trying to do? They're not the guys in the hoodies. Unfortunately, Hollywood hasn't done us any favors. They've portrayed these guys as the guy in the hoodie, and they do it through coding and hacking and very technical. It's not. It's very easy to become a hacker these days. Even when I've studied ethical hacking as part of my master's, I was super surprised that a lot of these tools that they use are freely available on the internet.
You're kidding.
No. And that's why the problem is growing, and to the hackers, a lot of them, they don't want to go after bigger businesses because it takes a lot of time and money, and it's normally organized crime gangs that goes after the bigger organizations. But then you'll have the small hackers or the small criminals that will go after the likes of yourself, so, and they're sitting doing that every day. They had got $500 of you, $500 of somebody else. Most of them are living in third world countries. That's a very lucrative payday for them. And that's the way that the future is going, unfortunately. But what I say about cybersecurity is that you shouldn't be fearful of it. It's just a new skill that you need to learn, and that's the way I look at it. It's like I often say, you didn't wake up one morning and realize that you need to lock your front door and protect your home. You were taught to do that, and it's the same as using a computer. You need to be taught how to use it safely. And that's really all it is. It's just another skill that we need to learn, another safety skill that we need to learn.
So how did you become one of the most sought after cybersecurity experts in Perth? What do you think contributed to your success?
I think Perth is very much about who you know. It's very much about getting out there and networking and meeting people.
That's how we met.
Yeah, and I am a people person. I love talking to people and meeting new people, and I think that's really what's helped me. I've been very, I suppose, not vocal, but I've put myself out there, and it's not easy to do that. You have the imposter syndrome and those kind of things. But for me, it's really just going out there, taking the opportunities that's available to me, believing in myself, I suppose, was a big one,
Big words.
Yeah. Because really I did move from one career to another. IT and cyber is very, very different. People think that they're the same, but they complement each other, but they are different. So, it was really starting over again. It was like starting a new career and getting to know people in the cybersecurity industry, because I didn't really know anybody. But I was very fortunate. I've met some really good people that have supported me, who's believed in me, that has, given me opportunities that I didn't have. So I think that's what it's been people that I've met or people that I've helped, or just, putting myself out there and taking every opportunity that comes my way.
Good girl. So how do you think people perceive you in the business world or in your everyday life? And do you think having an accent has affected your work life in any way?
That's a challenging question, but I think people perceive me as being friendly I've been motivated. People that know me really well, like my family and my husband, would say I'm very stubborn. When I get an idea into my head, I go with it. But I'm very much, I want to help. I'm there to help people. And I think that's how people, well, hopefully that's how people see me, is there's no task too big for me. And if people come to me with their problems or an issue, I will do my best to try and help them. In terms of the accent, I suppose if you asked me 5 years ago, I would say it definitely held me back. Well, I thought it did. And I started a networking group, and I was very lucky to be asked to become chair of that networking group. I was very privileged. They were a group of 35 business owners here in Perth. And I remember after one of the first events, which I had to speak at, I remember speaking to an owner of a construction company, a very successful construction company. And I remember saying to him, you know, I'm so conscious of my accent. I'm afraid people don't understand me, or that I speak too quick. And he was like, are you mad? He's like, that's the thing that makes you stand out. He's like, you know, you go into a room full of Aussies, who stands out is the redhead Irish chick. And it really has changed my perception now. I've actually now used it for my advantage, you know, and when I present and I public speak, I actually make fun of my accent now, because it's who I am. It's never going to go away. You know, I've been here 9 years now, and I think it's as strong as what it was. So I think it's an advantage, to be honest. But I used to not think that way.
Wow, this was so good to hear, because I always thought that obviously English is not my first language. So I always thought that I am held back because of my foreign accent. But I thought that native speakers would not have that issue, because I am an English speaker just like you are.
Yeah.
So this is quite interesting to hear that you had some doubts as well.
Yeah, and I think it was just, you know, when you're putting yourself out there in front of people, you know, and you probably have felt it as well. Some people are like, what did you say? What was that? You know, when you are public speaking, but you just have to embrace that. That's just part of who it is, and make a joke about it, you know.
Speak English.
I often say when I'm starting to give a presentation, you know, if I start to speak too quick, please just tell me to slow down, because it's part of being Irish. We tend to speak really quick, you know, so I've had to, I suppose, learn to slow down. So it's more about slowing down rather than the accent. It's and when I get really passionate about something, you know, and you get into the flow and the rhythm, you start to even gain more momentum, and it starts to really speed up. So I just have to be mindful when I'm giving presentations not to go too quick, because people will be standing going, oh, what is she talking about?
Lost you at hello, my name is.
Yeah, but yeah, I embrace it now. Yeah.
I love the Irish accent. I think it's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
But I sometimes, always have difficulty knowing if it was an Irish accent or Scottish.
Yeah.
I almost always get it wrong. Because when I hear that R's rolling, and that's Scottish. No, I'm not from Ireland.
And then people also, you know, there's the Northern Irish accent, the Southern Irish accent, and then obviously the Scottish accent. So, yeah.
Do you think it is similar?
No. Definitely not. Definitely not. No. And I think if you come from that part of the world, it's easy identifiable. And even, you know, like I've been at meetings this week, and, you know, I've met a guy from Scotland, and he straight away is like, what part of County Tyrone are you from? And I'm like, how did you know? And he used to live in Ireland, so that's how you know. So each county in Ireland has its own very distinctive accent. So yeah.
Now, is there an expression, if somebody starts talking to you, they will hear better than I do that, okay, you're from Ireland. Is there an expression or a saying or something that if they say, that would just melt your heart, that, oh my God, he knows my culture, or she knows my culture?
I suppose, what's the crack?
What's the crack?
It's something at home everybody says, well, what's the crack? Yeah, it's basically, you know, any fun, any stories, anything, you know, fun to tell us what's happening in your life. That's basically what it is.
What's the crack? I'm gonna use it. That's good. Oh, that's a nice one. When you thought that your accent was an issue, have you tried to modify it, or?
I couldn't. Even if I tried, I couldn't. You know, I suppose I tried to slow down, but yeah, there was no modifying my accent. It is what it is.
And I think that's the key. You just need to slow down.
Yeah.
I had a business coach and he said the same thing, that your accent is beautiful. There is nothing wrong with it. You just have to be mindful of your audience.
Yeah.
Is that, yes, they will understand you, but just give them time to process. It's not just, you know, what you're saying, but like, oh, okay, she says these words in this way. So just to give them some time to translate what you're saying. So the only thing is that you just slow down.
Slow down. Yeah, that's my best piece of advice. If you come from, you know, a country with an accent, or, you know, English is not your first language, just slow down. And once you slow down, people will get it, they'll understand. And I think, especially in Australia, it's a very diverse place. You know, there's people from all around the world living here. There's every type of accent and, you know, language that you can really come across is here. So I think people are now more accepting of it and realize that, you know, you may not understand everybody, so just ask, sorry, what was that? Yeah, no, it's a very, especially Perth, I feel, is very, very diverse. There's every type of culture here, and it's awesome. You know, you get to experience all the different cultures, you know, and you know yourself, there's so many different festivals and events around different cultures. You know, like even St. Patrick's Day, you know, they celebrate St. Patrick's Day nearly better than some places in Ireland here in Perth. You know, we have a huge St. Patrick's Day here. And that's probably why the Irish love it here as well. You know, there is a little bit of home, and you know yourself, there's so many Irish pubs here as well. So, yeah.
Can you think of any funny cliches about Irish people that makes you laugh?
I was actually chatting to somebody about this yesterday. They were asking, like, why is the Irish always associated with potatoes? And I suppose it's because of the famine. So I suppose that's one of them. Leprechauns. We talked about that the other day with somebody. You know, when you go to Ireland, you'll see leprechauns. And I was like, yeah, you will. So they're just part of our culture, I suppose. They're part of who we are. So yeah, you laugh at it, but yeah, it's all good fun.
So cute. And if you were to put an Irish person and an Aussie in a pub, who would win the drinking competition?
That's a hard one, because the Irish are very well known for drinking their alcohol. But let me tell you, I've met quite a few Aussies that like to put it away as well. So I think it would be a very tight competition. Who would for the worst, I suppose.
No, brilliant. And the last question. What would you tell your 10 years younger self about moving to a new country?
Just do it. Take the risk. Yeah, it's hard at the start. It does take, you know, quite a bit of time to settle down and, you know, learn a new country and learn how a new country works. Simple things like getting set up with the government for your tax, you know, tax file number and banking and all of those things. There's a lot to get your head around, but it's so rewarding, you know. I think for me, I flourished as I've come to Australia. I found, I suppose, skills that I didn't have, because, you know, I had to stand on my own 2 feet. You couldn't rely on your parents or your family or your friends. You had to build a whole new life for yourself. But it's exciting, you know. It's like being able to do whatever you want to do. It's being able to create the life that you want to. So just take the chance. Don't be afraid. Australia is an awesome country. We're very, very privileged to be allowed to live here and call ourselves residents or citizens of Australia. So just do it, and yeah, it will work out. It's not for everyone, and I know that, you know, some people come from Ireland and Europe and other places, and they don't fit in. It's just not for them. But if you like traveling, you like new experiences, you like meeting new people, you like a sense of adventure, this is the place for you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for talking to us today. We learned a lot about cybersecurity. I would love to learn a hell of a lot more, especially after what just happened to me. Yeah. Where can I go and learn more about your expertise?
Yeah. So I have a website, it's cait.com.au. I'm also on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I also have 2 free online courses that you can find via my website. And this year you'll see more and more courses and material coming from me, trying to help people and educate them on how to stay safe online.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing more of your content. And I think I will talk to you very soon again.
Thanks, Babette.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.